So today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating and frankly, pretty surprising imbalance in our tax system. We're going to look at why the IRS, probably the most powerful collection agency on the planet, often finds itself in a totally unfair fight when it tries to tax the super rich.
But to get us started, I have a question for you. Just take a guess. Who do you think is more likely to get that dreaded audit letter from the IRS?
Is it someone making, say, $20,000 a year? Or is it someone making $400,000 a year? I mean, the answer seems like a no-brainer, right? Well, you probably guessed it's a bit of a trick question. Because the crazy thing is, their audit rates are almost identical. Yeah, you heard that right. People in the lowest income bracket get audited at roughly the same rate as those in the top 1%. So, what on earth is going on here?
Well, the reason is actually pretty simple, and if you ask the IRS, it's all about efficiency. See, auditing low-income taxpayers, especially folks claiming the Earned Income Tax Credit, is just way easier. It's all done by mail, it's handled by lower-level employees, and it doesn't take up a lot of time. The agency's own justification is that it's the most efficient use of available resources. But that efficiency has a huge hidden cost, which brings us to the much bigger picture.
Let's zoom out and talk about the absolutely massive scale of uncollected taxes here in the US.
To understand this, you have to know this one key term, the tax gap. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's the difference between the amount of tax that everybody should be paying and what the government actually receives.
So how big is this gap we're talking about? Well, on an annual basis, it's estimated to be about $600 billion. That is an incredible amount of money that's just missing every single year. And if you think that's a big number, just wait. When you look at the next decade, that gap is projected to grow to a truly staggering $7 trillion. So the big question is, where is all this missing money coming from?
Okay, this slide right here really tells the whole story. It's so clear. When your income is from a regular job, wages and salaries that your employer reports on a W-2, the misreporting rate is tiny, just 1%. The IRS can see exactly what you made. But look at the other side. Proprietorship income, the kind of money you make from your own business and report yourself, the misreporting rate there just skyrockets to 55%. That lack of visibility, that's what's driving almost the entire tax gap.
And this brings us right to the heart of the problem. Why the IRS is so completely outgunned when it tries to audit the complex, murky finances of the very wealthy. For the last decade or so, the IRS has basically been hollowed out. Its enforcement budget has been slashed, and this is the really critical part. The number of experienced agents, the specialists you need to untangle these super sophisticated tax returns, has plummeted by 35%. The agency literally has fewer auditors right now than at any time since World War II.
And the result of those cuts? It's right here in black and white. While audits are down for everyone, the drop has been way steeper at the very top. Audits of millionaires fell by a staggering 61% in just 8 years. That's a much bigger drop than for lower-income taxpayers. The IRS just doesn't have the expert manpower to go after these really complex cases anymore.
And if the staffing crisis isn't bad enough, there's the technology crisis. The National Taxpayer Advocate put it perfectly with this quote. It's like the IRS is running on computer systems from the 1960s. They're trying to police a 21st century global economy with ancient programming. The whole thing is at risk of just collapse.
So we've talked about the big picture. Now let's see how this all plays out in the real world. Let's look at a case study of what happens when the IRS goes head-to-head with a billionaire. So back in 2009, the IRS knew it had this problem. So it created this new elite unit, the Global High Wealth Group. People inside the agency started calling it their SEAL Team 6. Their one and only job was to take on the super rich.
And one of their biggest targets was a German auto parts billionaire named Georg Schaeffler. The IRS team believed he had used this ridiculously complex deal to hide something like $5 billion in income. They came at him with a massive bill, over $1.2 billion in back taxes and penalties. I mean, this was the big one. This was the exact kind of fight this elite team was built for.
But what happened next was a 7-year war of attrition. Schaeffler had an army of the best lawyers and accountants money could buy. They fought the IRS on everything, slowing them down, suing them over document requests. They just ground the agency down year after year. One person who saw it unfold said the pushback was just incredible.
And the result of that 7-year battle? The IRS folded. They gave up. The agency dropped its main claim that Schaeffler owed any tax at all on those billions. That $1.2 billion bill just disappeared.
It was an absolute, stunning defeat for the agency's best and brightest.
The Schaeffler case really is the perfect illustration of the problem. But, believe it or not, there are some very detailed plans out there to try and fix this broken system. So, how do we actually level the playing field?
Well, the U.S. Treasury has laid out a four-part plan. Step 1, give the IRS the money and resources it actually needs. We're talking a long-term $80 billion investment to hire back all those expert auditors. Step 2, get better information. Require banks to report total account inflows and outflows to shine a light on all that hidden income. 3, a complete technology overhaul to finally bring the IRS into the 21st century. And 4, actually regulate the tax prep industry to make sure preparers know what they're doing.
Now, the goal of this whole plan isn't to magically get rid of the entire tax gap, but it is to make a serious dent in it. The estimate is that these changes could shrink the gap by about 10%, which would raise an extra $700 billion over the next decade, money that is already legally owed.
So, the blueprints are there. The plans to fix the system and rebalance the scales have been written. The only real question left is whether there's the political will to actually do it. In this long fight of David versus Goliath, the question is, will David finally get a better slingshot?